Hi, I'm Dr. David Borges. I'm a chiropractic doctor in South Lake Tahoe and a Lake Tahoe historian. I like to start off my presentations regarding Tahoe history is you know you're a Tahoe local if. You know you're a Tahoe local if you've gone off-roading in a vehicle that was never intended for such activities. Today we're going to be talking about the mile markers that are located from Placerville, California all the way to South Lake Tahoe. These mile markers were placed on the sides of the road initially in the 1860s. People who were logging and who were hauling freight from Virginia City to Sacramento wanted to know how far it was to Placerville as they were going along. And they placed initially wooden mile markers. And then they replaced those with granite mile markers each mile along the way. And I call these hidden Mickeys. If you've ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, if you look at some of the attractions you get closely, you get to see mouse ears and mouse faces and some images of Mickey Mouse within the attraction, and they're usually hidden. And there are books that are written about this, and this presentation is sort of like looking for the hidden Mickeys along Highway 50 going from Placerville to South Lake Tahoe, finding those wonderful mile markers that are located along. So the granite mile markers on Highway 50 are on the right side of the road going to Tahoe from Placerville. That's where the presentation is going from Placerville to Tahoe. All mile markers are estimates from Placerville. Some people think that they're very accurate, but due to the shortening of the highway, the mile markers' accuracy has changed. So if you're going to be looking for the mile markers, be safe and let the passenger find them on their way to or from Placerville. Keep your eyes on the road. Some were constructed by Folsom prisoners. A large number were made prior to the Depression and are stacked at a place called Riverton. On Highway 50 as you're going toward Placerville, Riverton is the place where it opens up to 4-lane highways the rest of the way to Placerville. And they're set by a Celio family member during the Great Depression. And I have 37 photos of the 60 known, or approximately 62% of the mile markers. Some are not existing at this time. But I have a little over 6% of them at this now, and that's part of this presentation. So we start at the courthouse in Placerville, and that's mile marker number 1. It's on the eastern border of Placerville, California. The mile markers 30, 40, 50, and 60 have the name Placerville engraved in them. Mile markers number 1 and 20 do not exist, and I haven't been able to find them yet. The Depression stopped the mile markers production at Riverton, so the markers east of Riverton are newer, or the ones that are closer to Tahoe. And between Placerville and Lake Tahoe, there's about 700 Forest Service cabins along the way, and you'll be able to see them as you come up from Placerville, and they're mostly put in there from the late 20s to the 1940s. There are also other numbered mile marker groups. There are call boxes and reflectors, are numbers from or the numbers on those call boxes and the numbers on the reflectors you'll see are west from El Dorado County line. Now the El Dorado County line is in El Dorado Hills. 0 is the southern part of the western county boundary, and it decreases numbers as you're traveling south or if you're traveling west, and the increasing numbers are traveling north or east. The even numbers are traveling north or east. So here's a mile sign of US Highway 50. And there's a call box that we'll see as along the way for emergency calls. And you'll see this 862. That's 86.2. Actually, I don't have a point in there. That's 86.2 from the El Dorado County border that's closest to Sacramento. That's where that point's supposed to be. They don't have it there. So here's a map that shows you where the 0 mile starts from the western border of the county or the southern border of the county. So you'll be able to see where you're at all along the way as you're looking at those markers. And this is the El Dorado County borderline that's heading east toward Highway 50, toward the Placerville. And you notice the post markers and the call boxes start at 0.0 at the El Dorado County line. And it increases as you head eastward. And there's that post marker I was telling you about. Those have numbers on them. Those numbers are the number of miles from the El Dorado County line. And the exit numbers that you'll see on Highway 50 are started on Highway 50 in Sacramento, where Highway 80 and Highway 50 diverge, going east. So you'll see this sign on Highway 80, Highway 50, and South Lake Tahoe is 107 miles from that point. But Highway 50 goes all the way to Ocean City, Maryland, and it takes 3,173 miles from this point right here. And that's exit number 1. And as you sign on Highway 50, this is exit 60. That means you're 60 miles from that point where Highway 50 and Highway 80 merge in Sacramento. And the number decreases as you're heading westward. The number increases as you head eastward. So are we there yet? We understand that rate times times equals distance, or times equals distance divided by rate. And so if you're traveling, for example, 60 miles an hour, you're traveling 1 mile a minute. So at Riverton happens to be the mile marker number 23. So if you average 60 miles an hour from that point to Placerville, you're about 23 miles from Placerville. So it gives you an idea how long it's going to take to get to where you're going to go. So here's that Placerville courthouse, that's 0. And here's a map of the old Highway 50 with all the different stops that are along Highway 50. We don't use this map anymore, but it gives us where the mile markers were originally placed. And this map we're going to use quite a bit. Here's mile marker number 1. That's what it looks like. We're just east of Placerville, 1 mile, and if you look off to the side of the road very quickly, you'll see a mile marker number 1. That's what it looks like. And this is you get to see that Highway 50 post right as you leave Placerville, and where that red circle is, that's what the mile marker looks like. Now you know why I talk about it as being a hidden Mickey. They're not big. You're traveling 55, 65 miles an hour sometimes, and you're passing these small objects, and you have to look quick, but make sure the passenger isn't looking. Mile marker number 2, of course, is just 1 mile further, and that's what it looks like as you go away from Placerville. And they look like headstones as you're going across them, but you get to see them and quickly look at, notate the number that's on the mile marker. Now, mile marker number 3 is one of the most difficult to see. As you're leaving Placerville, there's an overwalk on Highway 50, and there's a post, and the mile marker is on the other side of the guarded fence. And you have to jump the fence to see that the mile marker, but that's where it's at. You have to look very quick, and you have to know exactly where to look. But if you look right there, that's mile marker number 3. And mile marker number 4 is well, that's what mile marker 3 looks like. Well, mile marker number 4 is much easier to look at. Mile marker number 3 had a few rest stops, and that's where you would get some supplies if you're going to Tahoe in the 1860s, 1870s. Right now, mile marker 3 would be, there's a building that looks just like that, close to mile marker number 3. And mile marker number 4 is in the open field where you see the Apple Hill Cafe right off of Highway 50. It's not right on the highway, it's into the field, but that's mile marker number 4. And there's no mile marker number 5, but there's 5 Mile House. It was a house that was 5 miles from Placerville, where you could get some supplies. And you see the 5 Mile Road sign as you're going closer to Tahoe. And here's mile marker number 7. Now this one's not on Highway 50. It's actually on the old Pony Express Trail, and it's right off the road, and you can see where the old Pony Express sign is, and it's the marker that's 7 miles from the courthouse in Placerville. And then mile marker 8, as we get closer to Lake Tahoe, it's on a merging lane, You had to stop off the side of the road to get that particular picture, and that's what it looks like as the lanes merge into Highway 50. As you look outside the window, that red circle is where the mile marker number 8 is. Now, the Caltrans Camino station is where mile marker number 10 should be. Now, you're about 10 miles away from Placerville at that time. There's no mile marker there, it's just the building now. The mile marker number 12 is 2 miles closer to Lake Tahoe from mile marker 10. There's mile marker 12. There used to be a house called the Sportsman Hall down there. It's exit number 57 off of Pollock Pines, and that's where mile marker 12 is on Highway 50. And that's what the old Sportsman Hall used to look like. And on exit 60, Sly Park Road, James Sly was the gentleman who had that particular establishment. And as we're getting closer to Lake Tahoe. But if you'll notice, exit 60, as we talked earlier in the presentation, is 60 miles from the convergence of Highway 80 and Highway 50 in Sacramento. And mile marker 13 is again on the Pony Express Trail. It's not on Highway 50, so you have to get off Highway 50 a little bit, and that's what mile marker 13 looks like. And as we get closer to Tahoe, the rest of them are right on the highway now. Mile marker number 15 is getting close to Fresh Pond. About a mile outside of Fresh Pond as we're getting further away from Placerville, closer to Tahoe. That's what it looks like. Mile marker 16 is a very difficult one to see because it's on a bullion bend, and it's on a corner, and you're going about 55 miles an hour, and it looks like it's almost hidden in dirt. But if you look real quick, you know where you're looking, and most everybody can find it. Mile marker number 16. And right about after mile marker 16, you come up to Fresh Pond. Now, Fresh Pond was one of the stops that many buses who stopped at as they were coming up to Lake Tahoe, and that was what the old sign looks like. But it's been there for a long time. It started in 1861, and it was one of the places where several wagon roads converged, and it was a real popular gold rush place to stop. There was Johnson's Cutoff, which dropped right in from there to the South Fork of the American River, and that's been a place to stop for many years. It dates back, the current Fresh Pond dates back to the 1850s, where there was a gas station there, to 1966, where all the bus stations used to stop, and that was pulled out for a while, and then they put a new gas station in there. And this is what the Fresh Pond new sign looks like. Almost the exact same as the old one, but they freshened it up just a little bit. And that's what the Fresh Pond sign looks like as you're passing Fresh Pond. And that's where the gas station is now, and most people who are coming up to Tahoe get to see that part. And that was just a way station for the early travelers. And it's been there since the 1860s. A little further down the road, in mile marker 18, is real close to Pacific House. And you'll see Pacific House off to the left-hand side as you're coming up Lake Tahoe. And that was started in well, that's what it looked like since 1910. And this is what it looks like now. It was a place in 1959 where a gentleman named Horace Greeley ran for president, went across the United States at one time, wrote a book about it, and Mark Twain visited Pacific House. And shortly thereafter, as you come closer to Tahoe, is a place called Bridal Veil Falls. And there's no mile marker there, but it's real close to what mile marker number 20 would be. It's just a beautiful falls, particularly in the springtime. A place where many people stopped. And there's a picture of 1915 of Bridal Veil Falls, when the Transcontinental Highway, the Lincoln Highway first got started, and they're celebrating the opening of the Lincoln Highway from New York to San Francisco, California, to go to the San Francisco World's Fair. That happened in 1915. And some people stopping by the Bridal Veil Falls and on what was going to become Highway 50. A little bit different than we know it today. As we come a little bit closer, highway mile marker number 21 is hidden in the back, off the side of the road, really easy to see. And it's not far from the Riverton Station House, where the Caltrans keeps a lot of salt for the wintertime. And mile marker 22 is we're getting closer to Riverton. I'll show you a picture of Riverton. As you're coming up to Lake Tahoe, you get to see a bridge where the 4-lane highways narrow down to 2 for most of the way except for passing lanes. That place where it narrows down is called Riverton. There's a picture of Riverton. And there's a picture of the sign of Riverton. And over here, I'm circling the obelisks that were on the old bridge, the first bridge that was across Riverton, or the 1901 bridge. I'll show you a picture of that in just a little bit. And it's also the exit where Ice House is. You know, Ice House Road exit is right in that same area. And that's where that sign is. So the Riverton Bridge obelisk, there you can see the old, here's a picture of the development of that old bridge right there at Riverton. And you can see the 1901 construction putting the bridge. That bridge is no longer there. They have the new bridge, but that's what it was before the new bridge. And you can see back then the old cars going over the Riverton Bridge. But as you go close to the Riverton Bridge, you can see these 3 obelisks. And those obelisks were on the corner post of each side of the Riverton Bridge. And note that there's only 3 there. But there's 4 corners to a bridge. And we found the new, that's where the 3 obelisks are. And someone had transplanted the old obelisk and put it in Placerville. And so if you look for the 4th one, they're about 20 miles apart. Or actually 23 miles apart. Because the Riverton Bridge is in mile marker number 23. But it's still around, and hopefully someday someone will put that obelisk back where it belongs. But there's a photo of that missing obelisk. It's located on Placerville Drive, right across the Big 5 sporting goods stores, and hopefully someday they'll be able to get that back into the right place. And also, if you go along some of the highways, you'll see this marker. I got a picture of it, and the El Dorado County Museum had told me that maybe the first California state highway marker put in after Lincoln Highway. It's no longer used, and it's just the first letter may represent the first letter of the state of California, C. And they put those in the 1920s. That was the best estimate on those. But let's go on. That's mile marker 23. That's where Riverton is. That's what you get to see as you're going right before you take that sharp turn. You see that little mile marker number 23 right down there. As we continue 1 mile further, mile marker number 24, real easy one to see. And mile marker 25 right after that. As we're getting real close to Whitehall. Whitehall was a place where there's it was the Ogleby grade toll road actually stopped in Whitehall. It went from Bullion Bend to real close to Whitehall, and the rock work right next to Whitehall shows that it was built in the 1860s. And it was first developed and used in 1861. But that's what Whitehall looks like today. It was constructed, that building was constructed in the 1940s, and it was just part of the Gold Rush way stations and a saloon, and then became a resort and a store. And it needs a little rehabilitation. A little love would help. A little bit past that, getting closer to Tahoe, mile marker number 26, right off the side of the road. And we get into mile marker 27. And as we get closer and closer to mile marker 29, as you get to see it, and there's a 29 mile track. Those tracks, as you come along Highway 50, as you come closer to Tahoe, that's the number of miles that it's from Placerville. So you get an understanding how far you are from Placerville. There's mile marker number 30. Now, look at it's a little different than the other mile markers we've been looking at, because this one has the word Placer and on it, and on the 30s, on the 40s, and the 50s. And I'll show you it's only on the mile markers of the 10s, and there's one of the 60s. Here's mile marker 31. We're getting real close to Kybers now as we're coming up to Lake Tahoe. And there's mile marker 32. It's hard to read this one, but that's mile marker 32 is if you got to, and that's what it looks like in a close-up. There's that 32. And real close to Webster Station and Sugarloaf House. It's right in that area, Kybers, Silver Fork. A very small place of residence, but there's a lot of history right in that area. Webster's was a station for the Pony Express, where they stop and get a new horse and go on to Placerville or come back up closer to Tahoe. And there's real close to Sugarloaf Rock, the Sugarloaf House. And that's what the used to be like when you had a washoe wagon, 12 to 14 to 16 mules pulling a wagon, and those 3 wagons in a row. You know, those 3 wagons were hooked together, and they would haul quite a bit of freight going up and down between Virginia City to Placerville, and to get supplies both directions. And right up there where the red box is, that's what Sugarloaf looks like. I'll give you a different picture of it where it's easier to see. As you're going toward Placerville, here's a picture of Khyber's, the American flag, and right behind it is Sugarloaf. And there's a close-up view of the Sugarloaf. That's what you're looking for in that area when it says Sugarloaf. That's the rock. Now, as people were traveling from the east to the west or west to east, they'd use different landmarks of rocks to know how far they are from a certain area. There would be books or maps that would show that you're so, if you see this Sugarloaf Rock, you're so far away from Placerville, almost there to civilization. And there's the old hotel, the old Khyber's Hotel. Now this Khyber's Hotel was on the mountainside of the road instead of the riverside as the current Khyber's Hotel is on. This one, the first one, was on the mountainside, not the riverside. And in the background there is Sugarloaf. And there's a population of 139, and we're at about an elevation of 4,000 feet at this time, as we're getting closer to Tahoe. It's going to be rising. So as we leave Khyber's, it was named after a man named Samuel Khyber's, and some people suggest that it was people would go over to get the mail in this area, and they say go to Uncle Sam's place, or U.S. He originally worked for John Sutter, the gentleman who settled near Sacramento, California in 1848, and he eventually purchased land around Khyber's, and it became a toll house at one time. And the toll house was operated by a man named Dick Yarnold, and in 1902 it was purchased by a man named Albert Barrows. But they kept the name Khyber's. And as we leave, there's a parting picture of Khyber's between mile marker number 32 and mile marker number 33. So the next mile marker as we leave Khyber's is mile marker 33, and you can see 33 mile track as we're getting closer to Tahoe. From this time, as you go into Tahoe, is a very steep climb for about 4 or 5 miles. It climbs up pretty steep as you go along. For each mile, the elevation raises pretty quickly. There's mile marker number 34, as we just had left Placerville, and 34 milestone track. And we have mile marker 35, as we also have the 35 mile track signs. And this is mile marker number 36. Now, I know what you're looking at, and it looks like 35. And it looked like 35 to me originally as well, but it's actually mile marker 36. Because if you compare mile marker 35 right next to mile marker number 36, you can see there's a difference in the staining above the miles. And so this is mile marker 36, and as you get closer to Tahoe. Now as we get past mile marker 36, we get to the elevation of 5,000 feet. Now this is only 5,000 feet elevation sign coming to Tahoe. And the reason you want to note this sign is just right after this turn was a place called Fred's Place. It was a major stop for people coming to Lake Tahoe in the early 20s and all the way to 1965. And when my family was moving to Lake Tahoe, we would stop here at Fred's Place. And that's all that's left of Fred's Place. One of the unique things about Fred's Place is there was a river going underneath the restaurant. And you can go into Fred's Place and you can see the river while you're in the building, go underneath it. That's what Fred's Place looked like in 1920. And you can tell that it's not paved, so we know we can date this picture before 1920 because the pavement stopped in Placerville. And it wasn't paved till quite a bit later, the road to Tahoe. That was a resort, it was a roadhouse at the 35 mile marker, just east or a little closer to Tahoe after that 5,000 foot elevation sign. Ann and Fred Scriggs operated that resort in 1918 and leased land from El Dorado National Forest, and the business stopped in 1965. But you can see there was a Shell station there at one time, and you can look on the roof and it says Fred's Place on the roof, and that's the place where you could stop and get gas and some supplies. A lot of people who lived in Wrights Lake would use this as the main place to get their mail and get a lot of supplies for the summer. And there's mile marker 37. Again, we're getting closer to Powell. It's real close to Wrights Lake Road. It's also known as Georgetown Junction, because you can actually get to Georgetown making this exit and not even touch Highway 50 from this point on. It's called Wrights Lake Road. It's also known as Georgetown Junction, and it was a major thoroughfare going to Georgetown. And you can see the dotted lines off of Highway 50 that goes back close to Wrights Lake and then all the way to Georgetown on Wrights Lake Road. And so here's a picture of some of the details of Georgetown Junction, one of the old auto pictures. And you can also see, as we come closer to Lake Tahoe, a 39-mile track. That means we're 39 miles from Placerville. And there's the mile marker 40. And again, you can see the Placer name on top of it, and that's because it's in the 10s, it's the 40s. We'll see another one that has Placer on it when we get to mile marker 50. We've already seen one with mile marker 30. And there's mile marker 41, just a little bit closer to Strawberry. And the 41-mile track. As we continue closer to Strawberry, we get to mile marker number 42. You can see the 42 milestone river access sign from the National Forest. And again, you can see the little mile marker 42 underneath that. So here's a picture of the old Strawberry. And there's several ways that there's Strawberry Lodge back in 1858. And you can see Lover's Leap in the background there. And it gives us a picture that shows us that that was Strawberry. In 59, the name Strawberry came from Berries. The man who owned the place was named Berries, and it was alleged that he had a practice of feeding travelers the horses hay with straw, and the owners had to pay hay prices for straw. But they would say, "Do you have any more straw, Mr. Berry?" And that's why they call it Strawberry, because there's no strawberries there. But there's several ways of naming that, and that's just one of the fun ways Tahoe locals use. Here's Mount Strawberry, elevation 5,800 feet, higher than Khyber's, or 800 feet higher than Khyber's. And there's an old postcard of Lover's Leap and Strawberry Lodge on our way to Tahoe. And right off to the right-hand side, the old road is called the Swan Henry Toll Road. The highway we're on now it was needed to change because of the widening of the highway to allow for more traffic. But there was a road that was mostly used before 1940, from the 1860s. That was the old Pony Express route. It was the Swan Henry Toll Road, and the freighters used to go up the Swan Henry Toll Road. And you can still walk the Swan Henry Toll Road today. You can park in Strawberry and walk up as you're, instead of climbing Lover's Leap, you'll be on the Swan Henry Toll Road, at least for a little while. And there's another picture of Strawberry and Lover's Leap. And we're getting newer pictures of Strawberry right off of Highway 50 in the wintertime. And actually there's a bowling alley in the basement a lot of people didn't know about. But if you go downstairs to Strawberry, the bowling alleys, bowling lanes are still there. They're not used anymore, but they're still there, and it's really cool down there for people who decorate cakes. Like to go down there because it's cool when they have weddings there. And as you go up the Swan Henry Toll Road, you'll find a place called Slippery Ford. And Lynn Landauer, in her book that she wrote about Tahoe history, to quote her, "Those who traveled on their own were at the peril from many hazards, like the killings at Slippery Ford in 1875. Now what a ford is a place across where you cross a river, where there's no bridge. And so they call this place Slippery Ford because the river goes right across a big flat piece of granite. And when there's not a lot of water going across it, it's really easy to go across and it's easy to traverse. But when the river's high, it gets pretty slippery, and there's some evidence that some people had horses that slipped and went downriver trying to make that crossing. That's why they call it Slippery Ford. But it wasn't long after when they made the cars, the road available to cars, they put bridges over right next to Slippery Ford. And 43-mile marker as we get right before we get to the turn going to Horsetail Falls. And there's a picture of Horsetail Falls as we start to climb up the real steep part in coming up to Highway 50 to Lake Tahoe. And we're real close to Twin Bridges. Now note the elevation, 6,117 feet. Not much difference than the elevation from Lake Tahoe either. Camp Sacramento is at 6,500 feet. We traveled real quick in a short period of time. And that's a little higher than the level of Lake Tahoe. And there's a picture of Camp Sacramento in the summertime. There used to be a ski resort there, and we can talk about that in a different presentation. And mile marker number 46 as we continue our way onto Lake Tahoe. And milestone track number 46. Mile marker 47 is, you can see, has green lettering in it. There's just a few of them that have some different colored lettering. But this is not far from Echo Summit. We're getting real close. It's actually Phillips Station. And look at the elevation, 6,920 feet. This is the exit where we have Sierra Ski, where Sierra Ski Ranch was. It's Sierra Tahoe now. But that's the old building of Phillips. And you can see the old building is still in existence and was just built on a little bit. It was established in 1862 as a stage stop and a way station, and that's where you turn off to Sierra Tahoe now. Here's a picture of that old building that had a few additions to it. And that's the corner where you turn off if you want to go to Sierra Tahoe. As we continue our way to Lake Tahoe, mile marker number 48. And it's really hard to see. I took this picture from my car. I'll circle where mile marker 48 is, and that's right next to the tree. And it's sometimes hard to see, but it's there. It's mile marker 48. And as we continue closer to Echo Summit, this one happens to be mile marker 49, right across this street where you're going to be going over to Echo Lake if you want to take the Echo Lake cutoff, or Johnson's Pass Road. This is the top of Echo Summit, right before you see the beautiful Lake Tahoe when you're coming on Highway 50. If you look to the right, and be sure the drivers stay looking at the road because there's a sharp turn, and you're going about 35 miles an hour now. But you see the Placer name on the top, and it's 50 miles from that point to Placerville. The road is actually shortened from there, so if you use your odometer, you'll find that that's off just a little bit. They used to be exactly on, but they shortened the road, and that makes that a little different. But now we're going to start going down. Well, here's Echo Summit. It's 7,382 feet. Now we're starting descending from Echo Summit, getting closer to the Lake Tahoe Basin. And up there you can find the old house, old lodge, the Echo Summit Lodge, that's on Johnson's Pass Road. That Johnson's Pass Road is still there. That building is still there. And I'll show you a picture of and those horseshoe turns are still there if you go up Johnson's Pass Road. It's an easily traveled road in the summertime. In the wintertime, they don't keep it open due to the plowing of the snow and the depth of the snow right there. But there's a picture of the wagons going up Echo Summit. And they're just bumper to bumper trying to get around up and over to Echo Summit and down into Sacramento, California through Placerville. But there was up to 500 wagons a day that would be going through the Tahoe Basin trying to get supplies to and from Virginia City. As we descend the Echo Summit, we'll off to the right hand side we can see mile marker number 51. And it's close to that call box number. You can see it out in the field there when there's snow, when the snow is low enough. As we continue into Tahoe Basin in mile marker number 52, you can see there. And mile marker 52 is real close to the old Osgood toll house. Now that toll house was one of the first toll houses built in Lake Tahoe. In 1857, Martin Smith and Jim Muir had a station there. It was a stage stop, and he sold the interest to Schofield, and in 1859 they sold it to a man named Yank. And from 1859 it started to run as a toll house, and they made a lot of money in these toll houses because they charged for everything that went across it. And if you charged for every wagon and every horse and every person, the sums of money became very, very, very high very quickly. And that was to help pay to keep the road open, and as a little extra. It was at the South Upper Truckee Road and Echo Creek where those two meet. That's where it was. And in 1911, the Echo Lake Dam broke and washed the house from its foundation. But now you can find that house at the Lake Tahoe Historical Society Museum on Highway 50. And it's right next to it. And they're doing some revamping on that to make it more sturdy. It's the oldest building we know of in its existence in the Lake Tahoe Basin. A little bit further down the road, closer to the Lake Tahoe Airport, is mile marker number 54. And that marker, what happened to be found in the Carson City area, someone picked one of these mile markers up, thought it would be good to take to their house and put it in their house, and they found out, it wasn't too long before they found out that's illegal to do. And someone reported them and got it back to its original location. And approximately where mile marker number 55 should be is the Welcome to South Lake Tahoe sign that so many people are familiar with as you're traveling Highway 50 toward State Line. And as we continue, as you just pass the airport, past that sign, as you go up and around, just starting into the city of South Lake Tahoe, you'll see on the right-hand side mile marker number 56. And now we're coming into pretty much the city of South Lake Tahoe, getting close to the Y. This is mile marker number 58. It's right in front of a restaurant. I must have passed this thing for 35 years before someone told me, look right next to the restaurant and you'll find a mile marker. But if you look there, that's exactly where it's at. And mile marker number 59 is on the cross street of Tlack and Highway 50. Real close to the Lake Tahoe Historical Society Museum. And just right off the side of the road. And this one, again, we've got the 60, it's a 10, so we have the word Placer in it. And you'll find this one right at the Lake Tahoe Historical Society Museum. And it was further closer, it was closer to State Line, where there was some remodeling or some rebuilding of the lot, and they took the mile marker out and they put a building in it, and it's been in storage for like 30 years, and we took it out of the storage and put it right next to the Lake Tahoe Historical Society Museum. And so that's my presentation of Lake Tahoe history regarding the mile markers, what I call the hidden Mickeys that are on Highway 50 from Placerville to Lake Tahoe. And I certainly hope you enjoyed the program.
On the eastern side of the Sierras that I had lived my life. Here in this land you now call Nevada, I have called my home. Now, I was a small child when white man was first seen in this area. Scouts had come to my grandfather to say that there was a pale-faced man camped down by the river. My people were very frightened because the scouts had said that these pale-faced men, they had hair all over their face like a beast and big blue eyes like an owl. I was frightened. But not my grandfather, no. My grandfather was not frightened at all. In fact, his heart was so filled with joy that he leaped from where he was and he went down to the river to meet these white men. Now, on approaching them, he did so in a manner of welcome and peace. He had his arms outstretched as so, and he had removed his upper garment so that you could see he was hiding no weapons. And he said to them a word of peace, of welcome. Tuki, tuki, tuki. Now these men, when seeing my grandfather, they imagined this must be a great chieftain. Indeed he was. Had many braves with him. But they had mistakenly thought that he was calling out his name to them. And from that point forward, the men called my grandfather Chief Truckee, or Truckee, as he is commonly known now. You might know that flowing out of the mighty Lake Tahoe is a river, cool and clear, called the Truckee. And it flows through a peaceful meadow, and even a town is named after my grandfather. A name that would make him proud all the days of his life. Now I must explain to you that these pale-faced men who were camped down by the river, this was a scouting party, and they were looking for passage over the great Sierra Mountains into California. My grandfather would help them find this passage. He would stay with them for many days and many moons until the summers of snows had come and gone. Now this encounter was very important to my grandfather for many reasons, but one was because of a story my grandfather would tell us many times around the campfire. It was an old story, an old Paiute story of creation. And this story says that in the beginning, Father Creator, he had 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. A boy and a girl, of course, were white. A boy and a girl were red. Now, when they were small children, they were raised in love and security, learning the ways of Great Spirit. But as they got older, their ideas on how one should live their life began to differ from each other. Now, I will not argue with you right now over who was right and who was wrong. Let us just say that these ideas were so different that they began to bicker with each other constantly. And this arguing all of the time so aggravated Father Creator that he did what most parents do when their children fight all the time. He separated them. He scooped up the red couple and left them here on this land that we now call Turtle Island. And he said to them, grow, become many, and be happy. And they did. Then he scooped up the white couple and he took them to a land far away, way on the other side of great waters. And he said to them, grow, become many, and be a mighty nation And they did. Grandfather always felt that one day white man would return to this land in search of his brother. But those differences were not repaired, so that animosity was still between the two brothers. So upon hearing that white man had finally returned, was camped down by the river, Grandfather's heart was filled with joy because he felt that he and his people were honored to be the ones to repair the enmity between the two brothers and bring the families of mankind together in peace. This peace he asked of his good Paiute people. This message of peace I have honored with my life. I will tell you many times peace is not an easy thing. For fear, suffering, and ignorance, it can breed hatred in the hearts of people, even my good Paiute people. And I have many times wondered, what is it that one little Indian woman can do? But I am encouraged, strengthened by many things. One in particular is a poem I like very much. It was written by a blind woman of my time. Her name, Mary Day Arms. And this poem has done much to encourage me. It says, but even the saddest day has some gleam of light. A dark wave has bright foam beneath it, and twinkling over even the cloudiest sky is some solitary star to cheer it. So then, who are we? We should be up and doing, with a heart for whatever fate, still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait. Beautiful, yes? My fate would be in line with my grandfather's wishes, for he felt the way to peace and our people's survival was to learn white man's ways. So he sent me into California to learn to read and write English. First I did so with the good sisters of St. Clair in San Jose. And I learned to read and write English there. And while I was in California, I also stayed with many Mexican families, friends my grandfather had made during the Mexican-American Wars. So, yo hablo un poco español también. No muy bien, but un poquito. I speak a little Spanish as well. Because of my knowledge of languages and dialects, my familiarity with this land and many traditions, I was hired by the U.S. Army as an interpreter, mediator, and a scout and guide. I also opened schools in the area because I felt it was very important that we teach our children not just white man's words by wrote, but that we explained the ideas and the meanings behind these words so that they truly understood what it was they were learning. I also spoke out regarding the injustices that were happening to my people on the reservations, and I did what I could to improve the conditions there. I lectured from Vancouver to San Francisco, Sacramento, all the way to Washington, D.C., where I even met with your great white father, President Hayes. Now, while I was in Boston, I met two lovely ladies, wonderful women, Miss Peabody and Miss Mann. And they helped me to write, edit, and publish a book in your English language. I am the first Native American to write a book in your English language, and I have a copy of it here. Life amongst the Paiutes, their wrongs and their claims. For you see, I felt it was important that I try to explain we're not really very different, you and I. We all have the same claims in life, rights to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness. That, I feel, is one of the most important. Everyone should be able to live on land that they call home, to raise children in a family and provide for them, to love and to be loved. These are the sorts of things that makes one truly happy. And when one is happy, why, they can spread happiness to all of those around them. I am remembering a happier time. A time when I was a small child. And white man had come and grandfather had taken us over the Great Sierras into California to see the many wondrous accomplishments of our white brothers and sisters. And oh, what wondrous accomplishments I saw indeed. I heard a bell ring and a whistle blow for the first time. I thought they were the most beautiful sounds I had ever heard. I saw a house walk all on its own, and another floated upon water. Of course, now I know those as wagons and ships, but back then, such wondrous and great accomplishment. Back in those days, I came to realize that white men, they love their children. I learned that they knew and they sang the most beautiful songs. Many popular songs we would hear all the time. The settlers would sing them on their wagons, and soldiers would sing them in their forts, and even we, as a family, around the campfire, we would sing, we would learn these songs very carefully learning the words. Some of these songs, one in particular, so impressed me. It was so beautiful that even after all these years, I remember this song still. and I would love to share it with you. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, those bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. I want to thank each and every one of you this day for you and for all of your many blessings. Go in peace. Aho.